welcome to the show. It is March, and we're here again. It's Wednesday, it's 3 o'clock, which only means that we're here on Under Contract. We come to you every week live at 3 o'clock to help connect the dots in real estate. We do that by having world-class guests. Today is no different. We're going to have the owner of Spotlight Home Staging, and we're going to let Theresa, it's Theresa Clinton, by the way, kind of let that out of the bag early, but when we bring Theresa on after the commercial, man, we're going to learn some really cool stuff about how to blow up an open house when it comes to staging. But first, before we do, hey, it's March Madness. We've been talking about the fact that we are in the heyday right now in real estate. So what does your month look like? You know, I was just crazy enough at the beginning of the month to publicly say that I was going to sell 20 homes this month. So I want to give a quick update on that. I've only got 19 to go. So I'm almost there, but seriously, I really do believe that I can finish out the month. My producers are laughing at me in the background. Don't know if everyone can hear that, but it's funny because my boss called me today and she's like, hey, when are we going to write those other contracts? And I'm like, well, on the 31st, of course, right? So, but check it out. We are in the heyday, so hey, it's wonderful to be in this business. I want to thank the thousands of realtors who are tuning in each week for the show. It's just become a blast. And most importantly, though, every week we get to learn from top experts in our field to help connect those dots and put us in a better position in real estate to be more effective, to help more clients, serve more clients, and ultimately have more success in this industry. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in. You know, today is actually the second part of the open house episode, how to blow up, how to drive traffic through an open house. And last week we were very privileged. We had on Scott Barrett and we had on Shannon Milligan, both top brokers in the area. Scott owns Florida Luxury Real Estate, 6 brokerage offices, I believe, in the Tampa Bay area. Very thriving business. And Shannon up in Virginia with RVA Home Team. And I just want to thank them again for being on the show. So we're going to kind of pick up with a couple of things that we learned last week, which is essentially, you know, both Shannon and Scott talked about when it comes to the open house, making it an event. And I'm going to kind of also add my own little twist to that here in just a few minutes. But we talked about making it an event. And one of those things that we talked about was, that Shannon talked about was actually taking advantage of what's around you. In other words, when you're doing your open house, take a look around. What can you leverage with that open house? So for example, Shannon was close to a nearby marketplace that she knew there was a lot of traffic at that was very close to the house. So she went over to that market area, I think it was a farmer's market, and flyered up the place and got some traffic off of that. So take a look around your open house. See what you can leverage as far as gaining traction from the traffic around you. We also talked about the fact that Shannon uses a food truck, so providing food. And then we talked about signs. I recently heard that over 90% of the traffic from an open house comes from signs. So when you do an open house, you want to be visible, right? Obviously, because you're trying to drive traffic, right? If no one knows about your open house, you're going to have many viewers. And if even though obviously we want to put that information out everywhere, like on Facebook and social media and places like that, don't rely on that to drive your traffic. You've got to get out on your feet, right? Get out there, knock on doors a few days before. Get those signs out there the day of the event, and make sure you blow it up when it comes to signs. You know, I'm a big believer in having a huge amount of signs, which would be, to me, like minimum 20, 30 signs. I would go maybe as much as 50 to even 100. Yeah, I said it. I said those bad words. But so those are a few of the things that we took away from last week. You know, and one of the things that I kind of want to add and challenge you today on, if you're considering doing an open house or for your next open house, and this is kind of my take on it. So one of the things that I want you to think about is I want you to think of your open house as not just an event, but one event, the event. In other words, this is a one-time deal. Even though you may do an open house 100 times, look at each one of them as a one-time event and think about how you can blow that event up. And the other thing that I want you to consider is the fact that when you host an open house, one of the big benefits, as we all know, is that we're going to not only potentially sell the home, but almost more importantly, we're going to run into lots of prospects, right? It's a fertile breeding ground for prospects for us, right? So think about this. As people are walking into that home, we're obviously also hoping that we can represent them in selling the home that they may need to sell, right? So think about this. If that's the person walking in, ultimately, you're in an interview. You're in an interview, not you interviewing them. Of course, that's part of our job, right? To interview and qualify clients that are walking in the door. But they're interviewing you, whether they realize it or not. Because if we're going to ask them for their business as we begin to build rapport and find out that they need a home to sell, what do you think they're going to look at? They're going to look at, well, okay, here's a representation of the person that could potentially be selling my home. So, hey, that's a most important reason you want to blow that up as well. So, another thing that I wanted to talk about as far as some of the things that you might want to do to kind of increase your results or activity when it comes to an open house is the fact that, you know, oftentimes you can choose the location. If you're out there searching either for sale by home or for sale by owners or expired listings, things like that, think about where the location is. And I want you to also consider this. Consider that it may be a location that is better for you outside of your comfort zone or your farming area. In other words, you know, do business where you can do business, not necessarily always where you want to do business. And the point there is that, look, you can, we talked about just a few minutes ago, the fact that you can leverage some things that will be on your side to help you drive traffic. So one of the things you can leverage is if you're not in a very busy area, and a lot of the realtors that are tuning in are in metro areas, and it's a little easier for us, right? Especially here, I'm in the Tampa Bay area, so it's a great example, but so you probably don't have to go far, but choose a location, if you can, pick a location that's near intersections, near grocery stores, near schools, near the places that you're gonna have that natural traffic during that open house, and strategically select the times that you're going to have it. So there's a few things about the open house, but what we're going to learn next is how we can furthermore have a successful open house by what we call staging. And I'm gonna ask the layman questions here because, as most of you know, I'm in new construction and we have model homes that are already staged. So there's some input that I can give, but when it comes to open houses out there that are empty, well, we're going to learn something today from the expert. We're going to learn something today from Theresa Clinton, and she'll be up next. You know, one thing I want to say before we go to commercial break, guys, is don't forget, by the way, this is the last week. This is the absolute last week because the live drawing is Sunday. We'll be broadcasting live when Unity in the community gives away that 2017 Corvette, the one that we have given out tickets for the drawing for that to a lot of our listeners. But it's not too late. You can still get a ticket. Today's the last opportunity to win a shot at getting that Corvette. How sweet. Ezra, you got tickets to that, right? Lou, you got a ticket, right? What do you guys think? Are you ready to win a Corvette? Talk to me.
I'm dying to drive that Corvette. I want a candy apple red.
Look, I am so ready to win that Corvette. I'll drive it for about the weekend, and then it's going straight back to the dealership because I'm 19 and I gotta pay for some stuff, man.
you guys are gonna trade it in and get some cash back, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I'll just sell it to you, Cribs.
Yeah. Okay. No, but seriously, how cool would it be? I'm rooting for all of our winners that got a ticket and a chance at that. So it would be so cool if we could give that away. But if you think that is cool, wait till you see what we're going to be giving away next. Because next, I don't even want to tell you, but hey, we're going to make you a millionaire one way or another on this show. So that's a hint. So here's the deal. In order to win those tickets, all you have to do is like, share, and engage. Like the show, share the show, engage in the show, and your chances go through the roof. I choose 2 or 3 winners each week based on that. And don't forget that Twitter also counts. You can follow me at Desking Deals on Twitter and tweet out #undercontract for your opportunity to win too. Hey, we got to go to commercial, and we'll be right back with Theresa Clinton with Spotlight Home Staging.
I have been using Serial Sales Pro for a little more than 2 years now.
I highly recommend it to anybody who's either just getting in sales. I don't care if you've been in sales 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Doesn't matter who you are, where you are.
The shorter videos allows me to keep my concentration and also gives me more of a chance to actually apply that knowledge.
I've learned how to close deals better and be more effective in my communication with these customers.
You know, I think what Serial Sales Pro does for me, it just keeps me sharp, keeps my edge sharp.
My income has literally tripled in the last 3 years.
This year, I'm already slated to make about 50 grand more than I made last year.
I've doubled my income from what I made last year.
It's definitely increased my income, and a lot of that came from what I learned right from Serial Sales Pro.
It's really turned my whole sales career around.
It keeps me ready to get to the next level.
So if you're not plugged in to it, get involved right away.
Hi, I'm Robbie with RMT Media. I specialize in video production for real estate. Let's face it, in today's market, video is the new curb appeal. Even if somebody drives by your listing, the first thing they're going to do is pull their phone out, take a look at that property online. Whether you're selling a $200,000 home in Central Florida, or multi-million-dollar estate in Palm Beach, Florida, or San Francisco, California, or maybe you need some aerial footage for a site acquisition, email me today and let's get started. Robbie at rmtmedia.net.
Hey, welcome back to Under Contract. I'm so excited to have this week's special guest on. It's Theresa Clinton, sitting here with David Trump. Theresa Clinton, owner of Spotlight Home Staging. And what's the motto, Theresa, that you share with me?
When your home is in the spotlight.
For when your home is in the spotlight. What a motto. That's awesome. So let's just get right to it, because we've been talking about open houses, how to not only drive traffic into open houses, but now I really want to talk about how to have a successful open house. And one of the pieces of the puzzle could be staging. So let's talk a minute about, what staging really does for you. I mean, why do I need to stage a house?
There's so many reasons, David, but primarily you were talking about open houses, and that's what our topic is. But I've known a lot of realtors, and they tend to say, open houses is a waste of time. It's just the nosy neighbors that want to come over. But what they don't realize is if you have the nosy neighbor coming over, it might be the neighbor that's selling his or her house maybe a few blocks over and coming to check out the competition. So what staging does, it does give an edge on home selling on the competition level. You want buyers to walk in and be like, oh, wow, instead of, oh, wow type thing. Buyers will make up their mind whether they're interested in a property within about 10, 15 seconds upon entering the front door. So having it ready for open house, it definitely will grab their attraction, their interest. They want to look deeper into the house. Then the conversations start, as well as questions about the house and about the property and what else is going on with it.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I have not heard that statistic yet, but that is interesting that, within 10 to 15 seconds of walking into the home, they already have a very good feeling as to whether or not that might be the one. And, you mentioned standing out, when they walk in. Odds are, obviously, if you're having an open house, and you're getting traffic, buyers that are coming, or interested people that are looking at the house to see potentially if that might be the one for them, I think it's safe to assume that that's not the only house they're walking into, right? They're walking into others. So I think that's what you mean by standing out, because most of the homes won't have that type of, they're either going to be empty or they're going to be lived in, and the lived in really isn't going to compare to walking in and staging the home.
Absolutely. I mean, if the house is empty, what's there to look at? What's there to remember? They'll go in and be like, oh, okay, here's neutral paint color, it's a beige box. Staging will actually impress them so much. First impressions are everything.
They are.
Is that correct, David?
Yes.
So first impressions, they'll come in and they will remember that property if they're setting up to spend the afternoon looking at maybe 3 or 4 houses. And the other thing is, you don't want them walk into a home, like you said, if somebody's selling their home but they're still living in it, and you don't want them to kind of give some sort of nickname to the homes, like, oh, remember the ugly floral couch house, or what have you. You don't want buyers going into the negative thought process at all. You want them to remember the house that you are selling stands out against the rest, and they will remember it at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right on. You know, the other thing that you know, we had a discussion a little bit earlier about some of the pros and cons and things like that. And one of the things that you brought out, which I loved, was the fact that you know, that when a home is staged, it automatically gives the perception, even if it's subconsciously, that that home is more well maintained or well taken care of.
Absolutely. I've been in properties with sellers homeowners, that are selling their home, but they're asking for direction. What should they do? I've come across where there's, you know, maybe the dining room set that Aunt Sally passed on down to them
Right.
several years ago, and it's just not up to date, and it kind of gives the impression that maybe the house is old or is not being well taken care of.
Okay, so let me ask you on that note real quick. Can you actually do staging with a home that isn't empty? I mean, one that, you know, is furnished?
Yes,
'Cause I
sir.
didn't really think about that till you just mentioned that.
Absolutely. Sometimes realtors will come in and ask me just to kind of bring in the fluff, is what they call it. So that's basically accessory staging.
Okay.
I'll come in and just bring in the more neutral wall art, something that's a little bit more color coordinating with the furnishings that are in the room.
Okay.
Pretty shiny things in the built-ins or the shelves, so on and so forth.
Okay.
Also, then there's kind of like the part where I go ahead and partially stage, where I can go in and just kind of fill in what's missing. For example, this one home had very nice accent chairs in the formal living room, but the couch was too specific in decor.
Right.
So we removed the couch, and then I went ahead and brought in a couch that was more appropriate, and then again filled in with accessories. So
Right.
I can do pieces.
You know what? I also think, doesn't this sort of take some pressure off of the realtor who has that person who maybe has the home that's lived in, and the realtor inside is thinking, that's got to go. We got to do something there, but we don't want to tell our client, hey, that's a nasty couch. You got to get that out of here, right? We can't really do that. But if we bring in a professional stager,
Correct.
it's like having an image consultant, right? That tells you, hey, you need to do this, that. I can handle it from an image consultant, but I can't handle it from my best buddy Robbie telling me I don't dress right? So
Exactly. Yeah, a lot of times where realtors will call me and ask what I call to do their dirty work.
Right.
And that is the reason. A lot of them will feel uncomfortable, or they will go ahead and not have a problem mentioning things. But sometimes realtors can be met with a little bit of resistance.
Sure,
It's
sure.
almost like, hey, you know, I hired you to sell my house, just do your job and
Right.
leave my home alone. So I come in, an impartial person, no connection to the house. It doesn't make a difference whether it sells or not for me.
Right.
And when I arrive, I explain to the homeowners, you know, you have a beautiful home, always will find something positive, because every house has positive features. We just need to bring that out. But I'm coming in as a potential home buyer. Can I see myself living in your home?
right.
And once I pose that perspective, a lot of the homeowners are kind of like, oh, okay. So they're able to detach a little bit and let me go through the home and provide an in-home evaluation.
Right. You know, I can't help but think, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, but I can't help but think that, you know, as a realtor, bringing someone in, such as yourself, to me, if I'm the seller, and I've hired the realtor, it gives me also more confidence that, hey, this realtor, not only do they know what they're doing, but they actually have a plan. So that, you know, that, to me, that's an added value that you offer. But let's talk about the fact that also when you have a staged home versus an empty home, that when you have that empty home, like all the little, you're going to see everything, right? Like every little flaw, every little thing, where the great staging kind of totally it changes your focus.
Absolutely. A vacant home, there's nothing to look at. I mean, there's really nothing to look at except if there's any possible imperfections that the home might have. So staging not only helps to soften that, but what I like to bring to attention is also that, you know, when buyers are coming in, by the way, David, about 80% of the home buying decision comes from the female. So that's the wife, the mother, fiance, girlfriend, what have you.
You know, this is something, because, you know, my car friends out here are going to relate to this. As you know, my history is in the car business prior to coming into real estate, but it's the same way with the car, which is crazy. 80% of the car buying decision actually rests with the female. So it's kind of interesting that it's I would have thought the home, yeah, maybe I kind of get that. The car thing really surprised me when I really learned that statistic. But
it could be happy wife, happy life.
happy wife, happy life, right? Exactly.
Could have something to do with that.
So one of the other things that I think happens is when a customer, and I'm sure it's no secret why in new construction we have model homes that are all staged out and decked out, right?
Yep.
When the customer walks in, it's almost like they are living in that home. It's like they can visualize, themselves in that home when it's all put together like that.
Absolutely, because statistics shows that only about 10% of people can mentally visualize an empty space. So that means 90% of the population just can't do it. So when they're entering rooms, at times they're going to look around if it's vacant and be like, I don't know, is our stuff going to fit in here?
Right, yeah, exactly. You know what? I'm thinking right now, I can't let this slide by, but I'm thinking that this could save a deal. And the reason I say that, and my producers are back there nodding their head as well, because they're picking up on it too, but I can tell you firsthand, because of the fact that I'm in new construction and I sell out of a model home, when I don't walk through the model home and I walk through an inventory home or a home that's just about done and it's empty, right? When I walk the client through those homes, oftentimes I'm met with resistance. Like, for example, we go into the master bedroom and we walk in the master bedroom and they say, well, maybe the husband or the wife turn to one another and they're like, well, our bed's not going to fit in here. We have a king size bed and we have that oversized dresser and then we have the armoire. There's no way, this room's way too small. So then I walk those same people into our model home that's the exact same bedroom, and we have staged a king-size bed, an oversized dresser, chairs to sit in, and there's still tons of room. So it's just like you said, they can't visualize. And all of a sudden the deal is back on because they love the house. They just didn't think they could get their furniture in there. But here in an open house, you may save the day.
Absolutely, without a doubt. And I've had realtors share that type of experience with me as well. Or they'll ask me, okay, well, what do you think, what size bed should we put in here? Or should we put a couch and a love seat and an accent chair? So they're looking to me for direction. So that's telling me that they're not too sure. Maybe they're not able to visualize it either. So staging does help provide that kind of space relation, I guess, if you want to call it.
Yep.
They can see it and be like, oh yeah, we're good. Our stuff will be fine in here. And it also will provide them to start mentally moving in, is what I call it. Because once you start hearing them saying something like, can't you see everybody here at the dinner table, at Thanksgiving, and they've already found the spot for the Christmas tree, and, that's where you want potential buyers' thoughts to go. And
Exactly.
staging provides that without a doubt.
Yeah, that's awesome. And, another thing that we talked about, and we're kind of just leading right into this, is the fact that not only does it help the staging, I think most of us would agree that an empty house versus a staged house, buyers are going to be more attracted to a staged house. I don't think there's anyone out there watching that would say otherwise. But there are some questions that come up. Number one is, okay, great. I know all the reasons why I should do that, but what does this cost? Like, how's this going to work? Like, can I afford to hire Theresa to come in and stage my home? And I think especially realtors who are, on a commission basis and they're going to get, a little piece of the pie when the home sells, they start thinking about, well, I'm already spending some of my money here and there, and nothing's guaranteed, right? That money's kind of at risk because until they sell the home, they're not going to get paid. So let's talk a moment about, first of all, is there an ROI there? Does that house typically bring more statistically in offers or amounts?
Statistically speaking, I know that according to the National Realtors Association of Realtors, they have stated that a staged home will actually cause buyers or lead buyers to offer about 1 to 5% more than what they would initially thought they were going to offer walking into a staged home.
Gotcha.
So that's a very advantageous. And as for payment, the biggest misconception I feel, David, is that everybody thinks, oh my gosh, staging is just way too expensive. Well, it doesn't have to be. anything can be really expensive, but you have the option to just do what it is that you feel like you need to do. For example, I always tell my clients, look, whatever the rooms are that buyers first see when they walk in, I'm telling you, in my professional opinion, those need to be staged. That's the first impression.
Okay.
From that point, if you want any other rooms, they will ask me to do it. Sometimes they'll ask me, what do you think? And if they bring me to a room where I feel like it's not necessary, if I could share real quick a story, it was a 2-story home. The realtor said, okay, and the master bedroom's upstairs. Let's go upstairs. So we go upstairs, and it was the whole right side of the home. And I walked in, and the bedroom is huge with the attached bath. And I'm like, looking around going, I don't think we need to stage this. And he's like, well, what do you mean? It's the master. And I was like, but it doesn't need it. I said, the sheer size of it
Right.
will sell itself. Are you kidding? I said, I'll stage it if you want me to.
Right.
I said, but it doesn't need it. So I'll focus on some areas that I feel need it. But when I write my proposals up, they're broken up by rooms.
Okay.
Of course, there's a final total.
Sure.
But from that point, if that total does not sit well comfortably with the homeowner or whatever, they have the option to create their own staging package.
Gotcha. So you can do almost like an a la carte type thing.
Absolutely. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, and I kind of overlooked, well, I didn't overlook it, I kind of tucked it away from earlier when you were talking about the fact that that you could come in and in that lived-in home kind of say, hey, this has got to go, here's a few finishing pieces, whatnot. That also sounds like a great alternative as far as
Yes.
keeping your cost down.
Yes. And would like to add, because I just thought of it, you reminded me, is if I'm in that type of scenario and their furnishings, like I can work with a lot of their furnishings, then I'll tag them and we'll just reuse that and I'll just kind of, embellish around it.
Right.
And there's only certain things that maybe a piece is too large for a room or it's outdated or what have you.
Right.
Then we'll go ahead and take it out and store it and let me bring in something that's a little bit more appropriate in size and modern.
Right. That's awesome. And, I think one of the other questions, one of the questions that I had early on when I spoke to you was, I misunderstood. I had a misconception. So it stemmed from my ignorance because I've never known anything about staging. Like that was kind of new to me. So, for those realtors who might have the same question, my initial impression or misconception was that staging was like a 1 or 2 or 3 day event. It wasn't something that, that maybe you could do, you do it and it's good for 30 days or whatever. Talk about those timelines, what staging, how long do you get the staging when you go for it?
Okay, well, as far as I know, the typical stage among some other staging companies is 30, 60, or 90 days.
Okay.
I am able to offer initially 35 days, 5 full weeks, because statistics show about 94% of stage homes will sell on the average of 30 days or less.
Okay.
So at 35 days, typically, from my experience, that has been successful. However, if for some reason it's still on the market, I can't change the fact it doesn't have a pool. I can't change out the layout of the home or the lot size, so on and so forth. But if it should still be on the market or they're under contract, but they want to wait to get it clear to close, or I'll have a realtor tell me, we've had this couple come and look at the house 3 times. Can you give it to me a little bit longer? After 35 days initially, you can go weekly.
Okay.
So every situation's different. Every house is different. Everybody's scenario is different, so I try to provide as much flexibility as possible for my clients.
Right. Now, also, we can negotiate with the seller as far as those costs. If we're a realtor, we can either address this up front with the seller and say, hey, here's some things that I recommend, let me bring in a stager, let's get a quote on doing this and make a decision if this is going to give us that ROI, whether it's a fast sale or a little bit more money. Things like that. So it's not always the realtor having to come up with money out of their pocket, right? So we have another way to go here.
Absolutely. I've seen it done many different ways. I have seen it where realtors will pay for it, but in their initial pre-listing meeting, they've got my information as part of their pre-listing package. So another service that they offer when they're being interviewed by homeowners. And somehow, I'm not a realtor, but they work the percentage out.
Sure.
Where they tell the homeowners, I'll take care of everything, paint, repairs, staging, so on and so forth.
Gotcha.
I've also seen it where realtors and brokers will split the cost. I've seen it where the homeowners pay for it.
Right.
And there's, I guess, so many different avenues
Yeah.
that you're able to take.
Yeah, I think we can get pretty creative when it comes to funding this. So,
Yes.
So Theresa, thank you so much for being on. I'm going to have you stay with me, if you will, just to kind of close out the show. But the time flew by, didn't it?
It did, and thank you for having me, David.
Of course. Why don't you tell realtors, brokers out there, homeowners, how they can reach you if they have questions or want just a consultation with you to talk about what this staging might look like for them?
Absolutely. I do have a website, which is www.spotlighthomestaging.co, because .com was already taken. There is a link on there, or an availability for you to go ahead and email me with any questions, which I get quite a bit of, or you can call me at 813-732-3604.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And we're going to skip right over the takeaway today. Come back, rewatch the show. By the way, you can see previous episodes of this show on YouTube. The channel is Desking Deals, two separate words, Desking, Desking, Deals. Subscribe. You'll get to see future shows if you miss them during the live broadcast. So make sure you're sharing, liking the show. I didn't even offer the call in today, but we'll do that next week. I kind of skipped right over that in the beginning. But let's go to Realtor of the Week. You know, each week we pick an outstanding realtor that is doing amazing things. And I want to thank all of the realtors who chimed in this week and nominated. You can do that too. If you are a realtor, you know a realtor that is doing amazing things, make sure that you nominate them for Realtor of the Week. And do we have that, Ezra? Go ahead and put it on the screen, Ezra. Our Realtor of the Week this week is Deborah Valdez. Deborah Valdez. And Ezra, do we have the Deborah's information? Okay, let me, okay, her email is up there? We have her website up there. Oh, okay, I was still thinking it said Desking Deals up there. Okay, so it's D Valdez at MKA, I'll get it right in a minute, mkarealty.com. Deborah, I see Deborah all of the time being so active in not only communicating on social media what it is she's doing, but actually getting it done. I want to thank you, Deborah. Excited to meet you soon because you are fairly local. So thank you so much, Deborah, for being the Realtor of the Week. And don't forget upcoming shows. You know, we've got some really cool stuff coming up. We're going to be talking about ROI. As a realtor, where do you spend your activities? Where do you spend your money? And what's really, really bringing the client to you when it comes to investing your time or resources? What to put them in. We're going to talk to several people who are having amazing results in certain areas, and we're going to talk about how to blow up that traffic that you want so desperately. So here's the thing. We also have on the 22nd, we are going to have Dr. Lisa Marie Kennedy. She was on the show as a guest a while back. She's coming in for a special appearance to be a special co-host. So we'll be hosting the show together on the 22nd, myself and Dr. Lisa Marie Kennedy. She is the author of the book Selling the $1 Million Model, so you won't want to miss that. I think that just about wraps it up. Don't forget, tune in Sunday on Facebook, Sunday at 5 p.m. I'll go live probably just a few minutes before, and we will see live that drawing for that 2017 Corvette. Let's see if one of us walks away with that. That'd be pretty cool. What do you say, Ezra?
Pretty awesome.
Yeah, that'd be pretty awesome. So anyway, join us next week. Thank you for all the support. We're out of here. #boom.
#boom.